Hey, Christina, thank you for coming in today and sharing all of your deep insights and your great background with the audience.
Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, I'm super excited to see you again. Even though we're so far from each other, it's a great technology to make us feel a bit closer together.
I'm really curious about, you got this tremendous background, you're an entrepreneur, and like, what are some of the milestones that happened in your life, let's say from the age of 4 or 5 till now, 3 or 4 of the big things that you think really shaped who you are today?
Wow. Well, I think a huge impact on my overall sort of outlook on things is probably starting from the age of zero. I'm born and raised in New York City. So literally in New York City, so the East Village. And one of the great things about growing up in such a place is that I was always surrounded by such diversity. And that's diversity from an ethnicity perspective, socioeconomic status, religion. And I think that that's really shaped a lot of the decisions that, me personally, it shaped me quite a bit in terms of my openness to new people, new cultures, and being more receptive to new things. And also the way that I've sort of shaped my career path, and also has had a lot of impact on my sort of my entrepreneurial endeavors, which I can talk about a little bit later. But so I think, yeah, from really from an early age, that was the just growing up in that sort of environment, also seeing how it changed over the years. Um, I don't know, you travel so much, so surely you've been to New York a number of times, right? And so from the age of 8 years old until was probably 18 or so, there was a huge demographic shift in the neighborhood. So it went from a bit more ethnically diverse to a much more gentrified neighborhood where it's just super, super trendy. So I think seeing that transition and seeing the way that the neighborhood, the population has changed over time has really had a big impact on me. So I think the second thing for me would be obviously going to university. In university, I went to Wellesley College, which is also the alma mater of Hillary Clinton, Madeleine Albright, women much more established and accomplished than me, but at least it gives people a little bit of a sense of sort of the caliber of the students and the curriculum there. And I had the opportunity to do a study abroad in Spain. And so again, that was for me really great in terms of opening up my mindset, showing me the world beyond the United States, beyond New York, obviously. And having those 4 to 6 months or so of living abroad and learning a new culture, learning a new language, learning about new cuisines, traveling around, that again sort of cemented in my mind, this idea of how much broader the world is than myself, my own sort of microcosm. And then I had my sort of first professional and entree into financial services. And I worked in finance for about 10 years or so. I worked at Credit Suisse First Boston and Goldman Sachs. And my time at Goldman Sachs, I was there for 8 years or so during the height of 2005, 2006, through down to the downturn in 2008 through 2010. And so that again was another, I think for me, professional milestone in realizing how quickly things can change in an instant, never getting comfortable. And that also really for me, as in the beginning, it was very glamorous, and it was finance was the industry you wanted to work with. It was really great in terms of the compensation and the sort of what you would get in terms of opportunities within a bank to learn. And then there was this shift around the recession, and there was all these huge reputational issues happening, in particular with the bank that I was working for. And it really made me also question, is this an environment that I want to be in for the rest of my professional life? Do I see myself in the people around me that are quote unquote successful in their role? Am I happy right now? Do I see that I would be happy in a number of years? And after that, and then also taking into account that the compensation aspects just weren't as compelling as previously, I really had this sort of soul searching moment and thought, let me try to make this shift because I don't feel like this is where I want to be in 10, 15 years. And so I think that would be sort of the third pivotal moment in my life, and that's really what's drawn me to. It was that moment that I transitioned more to the technology sector, and away from that really large bulge bracket 30,000 plus company to a much more growing, developing entrepreneurial environment. And I took a bit of a leap in terms of making the change from working at Goldman Sachs in London at that time, to basically starting up my own consultancy practice, helping technology companies based in the US to set up or expand their international footprints in Europe. And I did that as a sort of sole proprietor and helped them build up teams locally. And that was my first entree into entrepreneurship. And I've sort of never looked back since then.